Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature, where each week during the legislative session we give you a chance to hear directly from your state senators about what's going on here at the Capitol. This Friday, April 5th, the Capitol celebrates its annual Art at the Capitol event from 4:30 until 7 p.m., where the public is invited to come experience the extensive art collection throughout the building. One of the major movers behind the Art at the Capitol event from the very beginning has been Senator Brian Taniguchi, whose 11th district encompasses Makiki, Manoa, Punch Bowl, and Papakolea. Welcome, Senator. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Richard.
You've been involved from the very start, from the very first year, 11 years ago, in 2009.
Yes.
How did that start? What was the motivation behind it?
Well, actually what happened was one year my wife and I had come to First Friday when there was a downtown event. We went to the State Art Museum. We were walking around and one of the docents there kind of confronted me and he kind of said, hey, there's all this art at the state capitol and nobody gets to see it. And so he was saying that, we have probably about 700 pieces right now. And so he said, you guys got to do something about it. So kind of thought about it and we said, hey, maybe we can do this once we planned a once during session, maybe a First Friday, and organized it. And it kind of grew and blossomed from there.
And a lot of this artwork is in places where the public wouldn't necessarily see it just wandering through the building.
Right. And I guess his point was that, only the lobbyists get to see it and the public doesn't get to see it. You should give them a chance to see it. And that's kind of how our thinking behind how we organized it.
Mm-hmm. And how was the reception from the public?
It's been very good. We've had increasing numbers of people over the last couple of years. We invite the artists who have artwork here, so you can meet some of them. We have the Hawaii Youth Symphony who plays music for us. We also try to highlight some aspect of the capitals every year. So we've done like the tapestries, the light pieces, the mosaic. This year, because it's the 50th anniversary of the state capitol, we're kind of highlighting the state capitol, different aspects of the state capitol.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But you guys also participate. The legislators themselves participate in the event.
Yes, we have probably 50 or so legislators. The governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, all will be open. Most of the legislators will be here, so you can actually talk to them and ask them why they put up the piece of art in their room.
And you've also created your own artworks.
We've the last couple of years we've had invited legislators to kind of compete in a kind of art competition. And so the first year we had portraits, second year we had landscapes. This year we had collage. So we have a class that's run by the State Foundation, and they have a teacher to teach us how to do things, and because I only draw stick people generally, and so we were able to learn some art facets of art.
And this is a competition. There are awards involved.
The first couple of years we had judges and independent judges, and we had a people's choice. This year we're only having a kind of a people's choice thing. Yeah.
So is this between the members or between House and Senate?
It's kind of more between the members. We've probably had about 15 people participate this year. And so their pieces will be up on the third floor in the conference room there.
Okay. Yeah. And as you mentioned, the theme this year is the Capitol is art, and it's part of the 50th anniversary celebration. And you've also been heavily involved in the 50th anniversary celebration. Right.
We've I chair a task force that we set up 2 years ago to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the state capitol. And so we've had a group working. And we've, I guess one of the big things that we found that there was a time capsule. And so there's been a lot of interest about that.
What was in there?
What was in there? There's a lot of kind of government pictures of the cabinet, the legislature, the Supreme Court. There's some, some directories of state government. There were it's like a coin, a state medallion coin. There were pictures that were taken around that time in 1969 of different parts of Hawaii, and so so that was really interesting to a lot of people.
And somehow that time capsule had been lost.
Yeah, I think there are two theories on that. One is that they kind of didn't tell us where it was so that so that people wouldn't fuss with it. And the other was just that they kind of didn't think about it. There was a last minute idea. And so when we looked at the plans of the design, we couldn't find it. We were doing research, and one of our research committees found an article which showed that Governor Burns and I guess Tadao Beppu, the speaker, and Dave McClung, they're kind of putting plaster into a hole. And so we figured that's where it was. So it was behind, there's a plaque that was there. It was behind a plaque.
So it was in a prominent place.
It was in a prominent place. There was 3 inches of concrete. We weren't expecting that, and so we actually didn't know what was behind the concrete. So we had to kind of drill and get in there, and so it was in a copper box, and so we had to, we had to kind of open the box at the top.
Right, and it's being replaced with a new time capsule now.
So we've gotten a new time capsule, and we're soliciting ideas on what should be in it. So we've gotten a number of ideas already, and we're going to try to mimic some of the things that were in the original time capsule. And so pictures of the legislature, and those kinds of, and pictures of Hawaii. Now, because probably 50 years from now, they're going to look at them and say, "Wow, this has really changed."
When we look at the building itself, and we're familiar with a lot of the architectural features like the palm trees and the water feature, are there other aspects of the art of the Capitol that people don't really expect or pay much attention to?
Yeah, I guess there's so much symbolism in the building, and I think that the sky, the opening at the top, the water surrounding the building, those kinds of things that people kind of, you don't really think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And there have been changes, right? I mean, so some of the tiles have been removed and replaced with other textures. And
Right.
things like that.
We're actually kind of disappointed about that original tiles were all taken off, and because of structural, I guess more structural things.
Right.
So they just painted it.
Right. This is the dome.
The roof.
Now, you have a long history here. You told a story about coming here as a high school student when the building had first opened to do some lobbying.
Yeah, I'm pretty old.
Yeah. So
yes, I came here. I was a student government officer at Roosevelt High School, and and we came here in '69. The building was brand spanking new, and we got to visit around the Capitol.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your memories with us. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks to Olelo for making this time available, and we'll see you next time live at the Legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capital.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list. You can also search the on-demand media library by typing keywords into the search box.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. The Public Access Room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process.
Aloha and good morning to Live at the Legislature, where every week we sit down with members of the House of Representatives to talk about issues, priorities, and legislation moving through the halls of the state capitol. Today we're going to be talking about education, and with a month left in this legislative session, we're also going to be talking about what's going on and what we can look forward to in the next few weeks ahead. Joining us this morning is Representative Della Albilati. She is the House Majority Leader for the House of Representatives, and she represents District 24, Makali, and Makiki. Also with us this morning is Representative Justin Woodson. He is the chair of the House Higher and Lower Education Committee. He represents District 9 on the beautiful island of Maui. Welcome. Good morning
Yes,
to both
Maui
of
no
you.
ka'oi.
Maui no
Aloha.
ka'oi. Okay, then let's start with Representative Woodson from the great island of Maui. Being the chair of the Education Committee is a huge job. I mean, there are always issues moving forward in your committee. This year, the priority was deemed to have been preschool education. It was a priority of the governors. It's always been a priority of the legislature for a long time, and it was a priority of a former governor, Neil Abercrombie, who formed the Early Education Office. That office is in the news right now because there seems to be a turf battle going on between the DOE and the Early Education Office on who is going to oversee early education in this state. Can you walk us through that? Tell us what's going on.
Sure. Thank you for having me. So the Executive Office of Early Learning was established actually in 2012 under the Abercrombie administration. At the time, it was attached to the governor's office. Since then, it has transitioned to be attached to the Department of Education, only for administrative purposes. However, statutorily speaking, when you look at early education in the state of Hawaii, that is the responsibility of the Executive Office of Early Learning. So when it comes to actually pre-K classrooms, and also with regards to the overall coordination with early education, that is under the responsibility of the Executive Office of Early Learning, and that is statutorily so.
So, but this year, apparently the DOE wants to run it. So what's going to happen? How is this going to be resolved this year, you think?
Yeah, and I appreciate that ambition by the Department of Education. However, K through 12 education is again statutorily defined as individuals that are 5 years of age by the time they enter into kindergarten, into high school. Early education is at the age of 4 years old. So 3 and 4 years old, statutorily defined, is handled by the Executive Office of Early Learning. Why I believe that we should continue to allow EOEL to actually administer that type of education, because they are producing phenomenal results. 9 out of 10 individuals that go through the Executive Office of Early Learning training education actually meet or exceed proficiencies while they transition into K through 12 education. So these are not also individuals that come from well-to-do families. These are individuals that have some sort of challenges that are not on the upper echelons of the socioeconomic ladder. They are in the middle or the lower. And still having said that, they are able to do tremendous things. So that type of educational delivery that EOEL is offering, we want to maintain that. The challenge should be, how do we go about expanding opportunities for more of our students? So respectfully, the DOE should just focus on K through 12 education. There's a lot that they have to do there. Our goal defined as my goal as chair of the Education Committee, the governor's goal is to get to a world-class system. So to have them segmented in many ways makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the Early Learning Office has been pretty successful, so let's see if they can continue that. Which brings me to another thing, because all of these things do take money. The state budget is a big deal around here, and Representative Belatti, we've kind of changed the process. That have some people screaming in pain, and others actually very happy with what's going on. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, the legislature's new approach to the budget actually is allowing us to have this very rich conversation about who should have authority over things like early learning, whether it's the DOE or the Executive Office on Learning. What we've done as the legislature is we've passed the base budget a month early, and it's really allowed us to now focus in on what the other funding priorities are, as well as the tough policy questions that have to get worked out in statute, they have to get worked out in conference committees, they have to get worked out in the hearing process. So we are now at the point in the session where we are looking at second decking, where bills will cross over from the non-originating chambers, so House and Senate will cross over bills again, and then we head into conference starting April 15th. What this accelerated process is allowing us to do is, again, have these conversations, but also begin to really identify those things that we want to prioritize. So, for example, we were able to last week move out a bill to the governor, which we hope he signs this week, related to disaster recovery on the island of Hawaii. We're going to be able to do this hopefully with other big priorities in the budget, things like Kapuna Care, maybe some funding initiatives in the education budget. But now we have this full month to really look at what the priorities are going to be.
Sure, right. Keeping an eagle eye on how the departments are spending their money. Great.
Absolutely.
Representative Woodson, how has it been working for you, this budgeting process? As I said, education takes up a huge chunk of the state budget.
Yeah, sure. So the DOE's budget, largely speaking, is about a little bit over $2 billion. I think, in my mind, it's a superior process because typically what you have is you have the money committees, being the House Finance Committee and also the Ways and Means Committee, singularly look at the budget. The bill passes out of that committee, and then it is voted on by the larger bodies. What you have that's happening now is actually the budget is fragmented in that all the subject matter chairs have an opportunity to see what's happening in their respective budgets. So what we're doing is we're checking the budgets for their effectiveness and efficiencies as it relates to funding. So we're tying policy to funding. That's very important. It's allowing us to have very meaningful conversations with department heads. And to me, that very much yields a better product in the long run, because instead of two subject matter chairs looking at the budget, you actually have multiple chairs looking at various aspects of the budget before it collapses into one or two vehicles as we consider it on the floor.
I want to very quickly, we've about 49 seconds. I want to talk about higher ed. What is Hawaii Promise program? Very popular, very good. What are the chances that it'll get expanded to the four-year colleges this year?
So unfortunately, the Council on Revenues has given us a downward projection. So although we would like to expand it to the four-year schools of higher learning, we need to be very responsible with how we spend the resources that we have. Minimally, if we can expand it within the community college, that would be helpful, I think, and a good step to the next process.
Well, we're going to have you back on because, as I say, education is a big thing and we're running out of time. But I would like to thank both of you for waking up so early and coming out hanging with me this morning. And the same to all of you. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week live at the Legislature. Aloha.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capital.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list. You can also search the on-demand media library by typing keywords into the search box.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. The Public Access Room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process.
Good morning and welcome back to Live at the Legislature here at the Hawaii State Capitol, where we meet with members of the minority of the House and Senate to speak about issues running through here during session. Joining us today is the newly elected minority floor leader and the representative from District 45, which encompasses Mililani, Kunia, Schofield, Wheeler, Wailua, and Mokuleia, Representative Lauren Matsumoto. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Good to be
So
here.
we're getting near about the last month of session. Going to reach second crossover pretty soon. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the bills and resolutions that have crossed over from the House to the Senate?
Yeah, so I'm very happy. Two of my bills are still moving. They're currently in the Ways and Means Committee. And one of those bills is to look at having a uniform financial database for all of the departments. Now, when it was in the Senate, it did get amended that it's focusing on the DOE. And this is really important because so often constituents are talking to me and asking me, where did the money go? And with our current systems, they're so archaic that you can't really tell where the money's gone. It's not easy to look things up. And so transparency is a really big issue. And so what this bill aims to do is to provide that transparency through having new updated financial databases through all the departments, and so that they work together. Currently, all of the departments have different databases that don't talk to each other. And so that's something that's really important when we're looking at cost savings within the government, when we're looking at transparency so people know where their taxpayer money is going. This is something that's really important. And so right now, it has just been amended. It's just in the DOE, not in all the departments, but that's a great start. It will be a pilot program to see if this can work across all of the departments. And the other reason it's really important is just last October, the DOE's financial management system went down. They were able to get it back up, but it's such an archaic system that it needs to be updated. So this bill is of top priority, and it should be one of the top priorities for the legislature because, as was mentioned previously, the DOE has a significant portion of our budget. And so it's important to know where all of that money goes.
Right, right. And if I hear correctly, some of our systems are so old that we have to get our parts from eBay to go and fix it. And so I think this is a really great idea for Hawaii moving forward. Another bill that you have is House Bill 1146, which deals with procurement. And can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, and so this bill is so that past performance is an indicator for receiving future contracts through the procurement process. And this is something that's extremely important at what many constituents in Hawaii face, and mainly in my district, this was a big issue in many projects, but our Wailua Elementary School library. A contractor was awarded the contract and they built the library, but they built it without permits. And so Hawaiian Electric Company wouldn't come in and put and hook up the electricity so the students could use the library. And that library project took 7 years longer than it was supposed to take just because of that horrible situation. And when they really investigated it, they found out that this contractor had had similar problems in many of their past contracts, but yet they still got bids because they came in with the lowest bid. And so what this bill aims to do is to make sure that past performance is an indicator for receiving future contracts. And it is difficult because the question is, how do we grade past performance? And so because of that, there is also a working group that has been put in to make sure we figure out a responsible way to move forward.
All right, and you also have resolutions moving through, two of them which address child abuse and neglect, and I think you're one of the co-conveners of the Women's Legislative Caucus. And so just tell us about the two resolutions that you have. I believe it's HR 57 and HR 59.
Yeah, and so this is a really big issue for child abuse. And one of the teachers from my community came to me and said, there was a really horrific incident. People might remember it in 2005 with Talia Williams, who was a young girl who ended up getting beaten to death by her father. And my constituent was her teacher. And she said there was a lot of little signs that was obvious there, but there really wasn't that full wraparound service for the administrators, for the teachers, for other students, and for the parents to really try and prevent a situation like this. And so what this bill aims to do is to request the DOE to come up with a training program that's not just for the teachers or for the administration, but that's really a wraparound for all in the community that are involved. And there's a subsequent resolution that's also moving through that looks to potentially create an app to be able to report things anonymously to make sure that we prevent horrific situations like Talia had to face.
And you have a couple others moving through, these ones dealing with health issues, and can you explain what those ones do as well?
Yes, and these are, I call them my awareness resolutions. And so the first is actually, I'm on the executive board of the national organization Women in Government. And this resolution came from that organization, and it's actually moving across the country. Many legislatures are looking into this resolution, and it's for tardive dyskinesia, and that's or TD. And with mental illness, 1 out of 4 patients who are on long-term medication for having a mental illness end up with TD, and it's that they have involuntary movement. It's actually a really serious issue. And so what this resolution does is makes the first week of May TD Awareness Week. And that's something that's really important moving through, so people know how to get services, how if they are on these medications, if their doctors need to switch medications in order to prevent TD. This is something that's really important. And the other resolution is dealing with bleeding disorders, and it was to make March National Bleeding Disorder Month. And that's important. You know, there's lots of bleeding disorders, and hemophilia is one that we know a lot about, but it's a really rare disease, but it's costly. And I have constituents that have 2 of their children that have hemophilia, and they've really come to the legislature this year to advocate for more awareness around bleeding disorders.
Well, Rep. Matsumoto, it sounds like you do a lot to engage your constituents. A lot of your bills and your resolutions are from, you know, direct interaction with them. What are some other ways that you engage with them, either here at the Capitol or in the community?
Yeah. We send out a lot of newsletters, things to keep in contact with our constituents, but we also do 2 surveys a year. So we actually just sent out a survey to my constituents on bills that are moving through the legislature right now and how they feel about it. So if you do live in District 45 and you've received your survey, please return it to us, because it does make a huge difference on how I look at different issues, on what I introduce in our legislation. And so that survey is really important. We are also having a town hall in Mililani with other Mililani elected officials. Representative Val Okimoto, Council Chair Emeritus Ron Minor, and Councilmember Heidi Sunioshi will be joining me at Mililani Uka this Wednesday, April 3rd, from 6:30 to 8, to update the community on things that are moving through both in the legislature but also in City Council.
Well, Representative Matsumoto, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you again to the viewers at home and to Alelo for this segment. We will see you next week.